Hello, fourth graders, and welcome to Unit 6, Session 2.1, Making Fraction Cards. For the next few days, you are going to be getting into small groups, maybe of 3 or 4 students, and you are going to be creating fraction cards that look very, very similar to this right here. Now, this deck of fraction cards needs to be very, very nice and neat, and it needs to be accurate because you're going to be using these cards to help you compare fractions. And if the pictures are nice and neat and very accurate as possible, then it'll be easier for you to see and understand. So let's look at this fraction card. Okay, we have an index card. Your teacher may give you a different kind of paper to glue these on, but we're going to use an index card. Okay, and I have the fraction 1 whole and 3/4, so 1 3/4. Notice how I wrote the fraction on my card nice and neat at the bottom, and then I cut out and glued a representation of 1 whole and 3/4 of another fraction. You're going to be getting a set of directions that look like this, and I want us to take a peek at it. Okay, so each person is going to be getting 10 pieces of whether a index card or construction paper, whatever your teacher is going to have you use. Okay, each group will have a total of 40 cards. Okay, you will also need your student activity book, page 365. Now that's very important, and we'll look at that in just 1 second. Each group will also get a copy of the blank holes. They look like this. You'll get a copy of the blank thirds. They look like this. And you'll get a copy of the blank fifths. They look like this. Now I want us to take a peek real quick at these blank fraction cards, just so you can see some things that are very important. Do you notice these broken lines right here? You will notice that you will be cutting on the broken lines. That will make your 1 whole. And when you cut on the broken lines, your whole is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal pieces. So each of these holes, which are the broken lines, are into 5 equal pieces. Do you think that you could use the fifths if your denominator was maybe 10? Yes, you could. You could divide your 5 in half, which would then make 10. Okay? But it's very important that you see you cut on these broken lines. That represents your whole. What about our thirds? We also cut on the broken lines as well, and that will make our whole. And each whole is divided into 1, 2, 3 pieces. Could we use our thirds for, let's say, 6s? Yeah, just divide it in half and have 2, 4, 6 pieces. Could we use our thirds for 9s? We sure could. And the last thing I wanted to show you was our whole. Now, if you notice with my example, my denominator was 4. We didn't have any blank fraction cards that had 4 pieces in them. So I took one of these holes and I cut it into, or drew, 4 equal pieces. So I made my fourths using a blank hole. So just wanted to point that out to you. After you shade in the correct fraction and you write the fraction nice and large and neat on your paper, you will then glue down the correct fraction onto that card. Okay? Your teacher may even have you put your name on the back of the card. All right? Just so we don't lose any of the cards in case they're left out on the floor. We'll know whose bag they go into. Okay? So, you'll shade in the correct fractions, nice and neat and accurate. You'll write the fraction nice and big on the bottom. Now, let's go back to talking about that page in our workbook, which was page 365. And it looks like this. It's fractions for fraction cards. you'll notice that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, and in each column there are going to be 10 fractions, so for a total of 50. Okay, so in each column you have 4 columns, there's 10 in each column for a total of 40 fraction cards. So if your teacher puts you in groups of 4, then each person will be responsible for a whole column of fractions. Okay? If your teacher puts you in a group of, let's say, 5 or maybe 3, you will have to decide with your teammates who is going to do which fractions. I would even encourage you that after you create your fraction to mark it off. That way, maybe put a check on it or color it in or X it out. That way you will know which fractions you have made and which fractions that you still need to make. Now again, just a reminder, make sure that you make your fraction cards nice and neat. You check them off so you know which fractions you've done. And make sure that you and your teammates have a total of 40 fraction cards. Okay, I'll be back with you very soon because we're going to be using these fraction cards to do some workbook pages. So bye for now.